everyone and welcome back to the Legal Diaries. This has been a video that I have wanted to do for a while now, simply because being a paralegal was such a big and important aspect of my life and really helped me decide that I wanted to pursue a career in law. I felt that with every paralegal position that I'd got, I was slowly using it as a stepping stone to get to where I needed to be. So I'm not here to reiterate the basics that you can read online, such as making sure that you've researched the firm and making sure that your application is of a high standard in terms of your spelling and your grammar. I truly understand the frustration that comes with looking for any sort of job in the legal industry, be it legal secretary, legal assistant, paralegal. It can be very, very competitive, and some people don't even know that until they've started to try. When I was applying for my paralegal positions, I was always asking the question, how do you become a paralegal with no paralegal experience? I mean, you get to an interview and more likely than not, they're going to say, okay, so what experience do you have? What can I, what can I really say back to that? So I found myself in the position where I really had to find out how I'm going to sell myself, how I'm going to organise my CV and answer the questions if they have any on the application form, and then how am I really going to sell myself at interview. So I have had legal assistant roles before, and I got that through very informal means, just by calling up or walking into the law firm and explaining my position and basically saying, can I please, have a job or undertake work experience. My first real paralegal role where I could say, yes, I'm not a legal assistant, it's not just purely admin work, there is some sort of meat to the work that I'm doing, was in a high street firm. And I actually got that because I had applied for a training contract, went for the training contract interview, was not successful, but they offered me a paralegal role instead. Now, the real frustration for me came about when I was trying to secure a paralegal role in a bigger firm. All of a sudden, I had to do more formal applications. And they had this long list of everything that they wanted, the essentials, the desirables, and then they had the actual list of the tasks that you'd be doing. What I was then finding was that although I'd amassed experience in high street firms, if I'd get to the interview, I'd call up HR and say, this is my experience, you think I'm likely to, get an interview out of this? Essentially, they would say no, because although you've got paralegal experience, it's very, very different to working in a to working in a city law firm. So I essentially made a list of about 20 to 25 law firms, city law firms, that had departments in areas of law that I was either interested in or had studied, because I figured that if I do not have the relevant experience, I need to show that I'm interested, or that, okay, I may not have practical experience, but I've got academic experience, and just try and forge some sort of connection to be able to get through to interview. So I then made my list. I looked at the actual firms. If it was a firm that I could potentially see myself at, I then would go on their vacancy page and have a look at what vacancies they had. Now, LinkedIn was around at this time. It's not as big as it is now in terms of the job search page, but I find that not all law firms were advertising, and I think this still is the case, not all law firms will advertise their paralegal roles on LinkedIn or pages like that. Sometimes it takes you actually going onto the website to look. Now, I know that a lot of law firms now ask for people to have the LPC behind them. At this point, I hadn't finished the LPC yet, so I was part way through it, and I still decided to apply anyways. If I thought that I really did have a real chance of getting the job, then I would apply. If I saw that they had the essentials and I could, tick, 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 all of the essentials, but I did not necessarily have the experience. But I've got the drive, I've got the motivation, I am eager and I'm hungry for it. I was going to apply, put it that way. Now, I'm not saying and I'm not advising anybody to apply if they do not have the essential skills or the desirable skills that they are looking for. For instance, if they say that you need 5 years practical experience in technology, media and telecoms, and you have no experience, then you know, it's up to you to be realistic about that, if you know, and decide if it's worth you making that application for. So I made those applications and I honestly started tailoring my CV. So for instance, when I got my role as a real estate paralegal, I had no real estate experience, but I did study land law, I did study property law, and on the LPC I studied property law again. So from that I was able to say, you know, I've studied this at undergrad level, I've obviously got an interest in this because I've pursued it, I've optionally pursued it at LPC level. Now I know that not everything is as it seems, in that sometimes you can study something but in practice it's totally different, and my ultimate goal is to become a lawyer, but I would like to get an insight into this area beforehand. So that was my whole basis for making that application, and it did pay off. So perseverance did obviously help, drawing out a list of the firms and pulling out vacancies that were in areas that were either of interest or where I had academic experience helped. Another thing which was really, really good are agencies. Now, there are agencies out there which are specialised and dedicated to finding people paralegal roles. They're out there, trust me, and they are amazing at telling you what you may be suited for, what you're not necessarily suited for. In their eyes, obviously they could be wrong, but it's always great to get that sort of insight. They have temp jobs, they have permanent jobs. There's loads of agencies out there that's dedicated to helping people find paralegal roles. Now, the final way which I once got a paralegal role at a city law firm was actually by coming in as a legal secretary. Yeah, I had no secretarial experience for that, but managed to get the role. I had the right requirements in that I've got a fast typing speed, I'm able to do admin work, I had studied that area of law, it was medical negligence, I'd studied that area of law before. So for me, I knew that I didn't necessarily want to be a legal secretary. That wasn't my goal. However, it wouldn't harm me to find out how different aspects of the law firm works. So I decided to apply for that role. I then used that role as a stepping stone for a paralegal vacancy. So once a paralegal vacancy came up in that firm, Colleen was on it and Colleen applied and Colleen got it. So those are just 3 ways which worked for me and will hopefully work for somebody out there if you're trying to get a paralegal role but you do not have any paralegal experience. I know it can be mega frustrating, but it will come with that persistence and that perseverance. And sometimes you just have to change your tactics a bit, change your roles, but you can't stop, because as I said, the paralegal role in itself now is so competitive. Hopefully that has helped somebody out there, and if not, I just hope that you enjoyed listening to my stories of how I became a paralegal with no paralegal experience.